just to find the love within. I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let it go. My friends wonder what is wrong with me. Well, I'm in a daze from your love, you see. I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let it go. People go around the world for love, they really never find what they dream of. What you won't do for love. You tried everything, but you don't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. My friends wonder what is wrong with me. Well, I'm in the daze from your love, you see. I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let go. I only want the best is true. I can't believe the things I do for you. What you won't do for love. You've tried everything, but you won't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Great sunrise, family. Great sunrise. And today's talk is capitalism, and me calling it a problem is like kind of an understatement, because it's cold, it's ice, it's wicked and it's evil. Capitalism is the system of it. Because we're gonna look at how and what makes it evil and wicked. But first, I'm going to do this. Let's look at some of what I call love from the cosmos. What does love really truly mean from the cosmos? Let's look at that. Okay. So let me stop this and reshare the screen on this. What is love? Love is, oh, wrong one. Let me delete that. Love is, hold on, let me show my screen again. What is love? Because we have, in this, nowadays we have construed sense of what love really truly is. 6 human needs. So basically, what we're taught here is that love is a need. But the truth of the matter is love is actually having your needs met. And mothers are responsible for making, when they make babies come into this world, mothers are responsible for making sure that the baby's needs are all met at all times for growth. This is what I call natural cosmic love. She loves her husband in that same manner. They call it helpmate, but she is not necessarily, they're each other's helpmate. But the love is meeting needs, ensuring that they have everything to survive and to enjoy, to endure the human experience. The human experience. So, love was before capitalism. Love was before the system, period. Love came before the system. Okay. So we know that love comes before anything that we are dealing with now. That's why I call it, that's why we can say that it's cosmic, because it comes from, it's always been there. It came with the territory, we can say, because it was expected that mother would take care of her children, that there would be plenty naturally. When we go outside and we look at our gardens, we look at the gardens, we look at the, we, not even the man-made gardens, we can just look at the trees and how they are taken care of naturally. It's not a system that is responsible for the trees and the birds and the bees and all those creatures. There is nothing that controls those things. Those things are natural. That's love. That's love. Us looking out in nature and actually seeing real, true love happening. So when there's no love, when a group of people, such as our group of people that we come from, the Nubian people, the Bantus, when we have been deprived and robbed of a lot of things, then we are put in a situation where we're seeking continuously. And now they give us capitalism, the system, because they capitalize off of what they've robbed us of, what they've, you know, uh, control now. And many of us don't have, or many of us now, our six human needs are not, no longer, haven't been met, have not been met. Our needs to be loved and to be connected to the world around us starts, like I said, at birth. This is cosmic. This is true cosmic love. It starts during the 9 months of relationship we have with our mothers, with them, way before you're born. But guess what else is waiting for you way before you're born? A lot of times it meets people at the doorstep when they're born. Now it meets us at the doorstep when we're born. And that's capitalism. That is capitalism. Ready to tag and snag you up and claim you, take your soul. So, wrapped up inside of her and waiting for our first meeting with the world on our birthday. It continues on until the end of our lives. Everyone wants to love. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to feel connected and belong. It could be an instinct that we used throughout evolution in order to survive. Or maybe it's a social need. For whatever reason, our well being depends highly on others from the second we are born. Exactly. From the second we are born, we have love. But we also have one other wicked thing waiting for us, and that's capitalism. Unfortunately, now you know why I say YT is dumb in a lot of my statements that I've made in the past. You cannot you cannot tell me that they do not know that this is a system of destruction, capitalism. And that capitalism isn't anything spiritual. Nothing spiritual about it. It's very cold and wicked. Um, let's get into what is capitalism? What is capitalism? Let's look at what is capitalism. Okay. I want to do it from the Merriam dictionary. Um, what's happening? Okay. An economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership of capital goods, by investments that are determined by private decision, and by prices, production, and the distribution of goods that are determined mainly by competition in a free market. So basically, this is this is only to benefit those who have taken our people hostage. This is a system that only benefits them, and I'm going to explain how it benefits them more and how this system, how, if possible, we don't really want this system because it is a demonic system. It's a very wicked, cold system against us. Because when you think about it, capitalism was born out of stealing, killing, raping, and pillaging, murdering. This is where capitalism derives from. And so, this is where it derives from. This is where it's born from. So let's take a look at this article I have on. Oh, did I delete it? Okay, now where is it? Okay, here we go. Let me see. Okay, this is Africans before the Atlantic slave trade. Most Africans who came to the North America were from West Africa and West Central Africa. It has been estimated that before 1700, 69% of all African people transported into transatlantic slave trade were from West Central Africa. And that from 1700 to 1800, West Central Africans comprised about 38% of all Africans brought as slaves to the Americas. Understanding West Central Africa is important to understanding African American culture, but more broadly to understanding the culture and the history of American South. Western Africa begins where the Sahara Desert ends. A short, erratic rainy season supports the sparse cover of vegetation that defines the steppe-like Sahel. The Sahel serves as a transition to the Sudan and the classic savanna, where a longer rainy season supports babo, baobab and acacia trees, sprinkled across an open vegetative landscape dominated by bushes, grasses, and other herbaceous growth. Next comes another narrow transitional zone where the savanna and the forest intermingle before the rainforest is reached. Finally, there is the coast fringed with mangrove swamps impounded by heavy surf. The Sahara can be likened to a sea lying north of West Africa and the Sahel to its shore. The desert and the Sahel form geographical barriers to the Sub-Saharan West Africa that, like the Atlantic Ocean, contributed to the comparative isolation of the region from early Mid East and European civilization until the 15th century. Early history. Uh, Archaeologists know about sub Sahara West Africa before 800 CE. After that, the rise of Islam made Arabic records available. Three evidence from Dartich, an archaeological site in the area of ancient Ghana, suggests that agricultural expansion and intensification gave rise to walled villages of 500 to 1,000 inhabitants as early as 900 to 800 BCE. By 700 BCE, The settlement patterns changed to more numerous, smaller, unwalled villages. Gina Gino, a second archaeological site, was first settled around 250 BCE, located around an inland delta of the Niger River. Gina Gino probably started out as a place where local farmers, herders, and fishers brought produce to exchange with one another. Over time, the location became an inter-regional trade center. It might have been the first one in the region, but if so, others soon followed, and several of these became the centers of a series of kingdoms and empires in the Sahel and Sudan. Eventually, the region was densely populated by people who had social organizations based on kinship ties, political forms that are properly called states, and cities based on Sahara trade, at least as far as south as modern day Djina. What we know about these states and cities comes mostly from oral traditions and literature. Muslim, Arab, and Berber travelers who made their first visits to the region in the 18th century. Oral sources included African poems, praise songs, and accounts of past events, usually passed on through official oral historians such as griots, who recite the historians from ancient Mali and Songhai. When the Portuguese first explored the West African coastline in the 1400s, the culture of African societies were highly evolved and had been so for centuries. I actually did a video talking about this when the Portuguese went into West Africa. It was not called Ghana at the time, for it didn't have its name, Ghana, until later. But I had talked about how these Portuguese were mixed people already. Uh, and many of these other groups are as well, because that's all there was on the planet at the time was us and this pink man becomes YT. So when they came along, you know, the people of that inhabited West Africa, they welcomed them in willingly, but not, there was always this war against the British, for that region, because they knew they were trying to come and trying to come and they were nice about it, what they wanted to do. Um, so, and this time, what they did was they sent them through first, and not knowing that these Portuguese, of course, were working for the British, the Europeans, and then they were able to come on in. They were able to come on in from there. So we know that's how it was easy to penetrate that area. Okay, so it says years before Portuguese exploration, three large centers of medieval African civilization developed sequentially along the west coast of sub-Sahara Africa. Is Islamic scholars and African oral traditions tell us that all of these states had centralized governments, long distance trade routes, and educational systems. So we had all that we needed. We had love. We had love. We didn't have war. We didn't have stealing. We didn't have pillaging. We didn't have imprisonment. We didn't have uh, murdering. But they had some real civilization over here, and so did we have real civilization in Americas. We had to have it because the Europeans talk about coming over, finding some Negroid looking people in America and having to kill them off in order to really have the resources and stuff here in America for themselves. They tell us that. They actually tell us that. It's 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 literary history told from those who have experienced, they're out of experience, their own writing, their own words. We may not be able to be there, but they left that information to our for our advice, for us to use, for us to see. So there was no capitalism. There was no feeling like, you really have to sell or buy this land. Not until, uh, coincidentally, the surface people came along. And I call the Caucasians, that's why I say they can never be your priests, they can never be your doctors, they can never be your anything for you because it'll only bring bad juju to you, to your life, to even us dealing with them the way we have to deal with them only brings bad juju to our life, to our world. And this is how capitalism is a deep, serious problem for us. This is why it's a deep, serious problem for us. Oh, hold on. I wasn't even sharing the right screen. Let me get that together. Okay. I got the right screen. So let's finish reading this. So it says when the Portuguese first explored the West African coastline in 1400s, the cultures of African societies were highly evolved and had been so for centuries. For centuries, we have been highly evolved. And this, you got to believe that this allowed for them to get all their needs met, have their human experience here on the planet without all the negative. Negative is just that. It's something that has distracted love from your life. It has distracted love from your life. It's all mathematics, everything we deal with, even the language. Me and Dee talked about that a while back, how the language is math. When we construct sentences and we talk, we're either adding, edifying, or we're either subtracting. We even doing some division in there, and maybe some multiplication. But it's all one. Ancient Ghana. Let's talk about ancient Ghana. The first polity that is known to have gained prominence as ancient Ghana between 500 and 1250 CE. Ancient Ghana flourished in the southern Sahel north of Middle Niger and Middle Senegal rivers from the work of two Arabic scholars, al-Bakri writing in 1067 and al-Idrisi writing in 1154. We know that ancient Ghana had a civil service, a strong monarchy based on matrilineal, matrilineal, matrilineal system of inheritance. Let's talk about inheritance. Let's talk about the love passed down. And then we can understand how capitalism has stopped and is not working for the Nubian people, for us. How it will and cannot work for us. It is not meant to work for us. But we can make things work for us. But we're working within a wicked, cold ice system. So love is to be passed down. But because our family system, family structures have been broken down, and many people are raised the love, without the love, it's causing this catastrophic event to happen within our communities. We are seeing women having to work two or three jobs. We're seeing women having to work hard with their physical and not with their minds. We are seeing women, when they do work with their minds, they are compromised. They have to go work for the system and back the system. Thus taking you away from who you truly are. And basically making you out of a robot. Working against yourself. So, working against yourself. So where you are supposed to have the inheritance. You're supposed to have the love passed down to you you have had things taken away from you, subtracted from you, but we've been fed, so we've had an addition, we had something added to us that is not nutrient nutritious for us. That's not nutrition. That is death. We've had death handed to us. We've had love subtracted from us, and we've had love hate. We've had death placed within us to replace the love. And that's what this society has done. So let's finish looking at this. It's talking about ancient Africa. And we said that inheritance was important. The matrilineal matrilineal system of inheritance is important. This all comes from the cosmos. And like I said before in my videos, I talk about the imbalance that edification is born from mom. She subtracts from her and adds to the world. She takes from herself and adds this new baby addition to a family. And balance. Because moms are sad when they have to let go of the baby and bring the baby into this world and for the world. The baby's no longer hers anymore, it's subtracted from her. So that's a in a way not a good feeling experience, but at the same time it's a good feeling and an experience. So it's got that balance in it. And we always keep that balance in everything outside. We have to be that balance. So a cabinet, an army, and an effective justice system. So they had a cabinet, they had an army, and they had an effective justice system, all as a sense of protection for the people, protection for the land, and for life, and a regular source of income from trades, as well as tribute from vassal kings, vassal king. Let's see what this vassal kings is. Okay, it's a less important king representing a superior king. So it's a less important king representing a superior king. Let's go back. Okay. Mali. As Ghana declined over the next 200 years, the ancient Mali Empire arose in the same area but descended territorially further along the Niger River. Mali encompassed a huge area stretching from lower Senegal and upper Niger rivers eastward to the Niger Bend and northward to the Sahel. Its great size made Mali an enemy, an even more diverse state than Ghana. The majority of the people lived in small villages and cultivated rice or sorghum and millets, while some communities specialized in herding and fishing. Trade flourished in the towns, which housed a wide array of craftspeople, along with a growing number of Islamic teachers and holy men. The main commercial centers were its capitals, Niamey, Timbuktu, and Goa. Mansa Musa is the most remembered of the kings of Mali. During Musa's reign, 1307 to 1337, Mali's boundaries were extended to their furthest limits. Musa instituted national honors for the provincial administrators to encourage devoted service. He ruled impartially with a great sense of justice, relying on judges, scribes, and civil servants. Musa established diplomatic relationships with other African states, especially Morocco. Mansa Musa established the Islamic region in Mali, remembered for bringing peace, order, trade, and commerce. Mansa Musa started the practice of sending students to Morocco for studies, and he laid the foundation of what later became the city of Timbuktu, the commercial and educational center of the Western Sudan. Present day Mon people trace their ancestry to the great 13th century. Around 1375, Goa, a small tributary state of Mali, broke away under the leadership of Sunni Ali. Over, over the next 28 years, Sunni Ali built the small kingdom of Goa into the huge empire of Songhai. Songhai encompassed the geographic area of ancient Ghana and Mali combined and extended into the region of ancient and contemporary northwest Nigeria. The Mandinka wolf Bamana, also called Bambara, and other people lived in the western reaches of Songhai Empire. And Fulani people lived in the region that is now northwest Nigeria. Hi, hold on. All right, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. I got that phone call. But we know the Sangha people, 1375 Goa, small tributary state, Mali broke away under the leadership of Sunni Ali. Over the next 28 years, Sunni Ali built these small kingdoms of Goa into the huge empire of such Sangha. Sangha encompassed the geographic area of ancient Ghana and Mali combined and extended into the region of ancient contemporary northwest Nigeria. The Mandinka, Wolfa, Manama, and the Barbaria. Songhai Empire, Hausa, and Fulani people lived in regions that is now northwest Nigeria. All of these cultures still exist. By the time Portugal and Spain embarked on exploration and conquest of the Western Hemisphere in 1500, Muhammad Askia ruled over Shanghai. Askia completed Mansa Musa's project to create a great center of learning, culminating with the establishment of the Sankore University in Timbuktu. So core teachers and students came from all over Sub-Sahara Africa and from the Arabic nation to the east, Leo Africanus. An eyewitness described Sankore University. Here are great stories of doctors, judges, priests, and other learned men that are bountifully maintained at the king's Muhammad Askia cost and charges. This is when, Black history is, when they talk about the first this, the first that, none of that is true. We've always had, we came here with skills. Our people came here, were here with skills. We had skills, we had villages, we had cities, we had all that stuff here in America as well. So the fictitious narrative that they have built around us to celebrate February as the first this, first that, Black people, like, we literally bite on that, and we like a hook in a fish, we just go swim with it, and till we are captured, and then our minds are captured into this history of non-truth, which is saying that we never really had anything until the white man formed us and conformed us, but transformed us and all this. But we should be. That's why I said we should see for what it is and neglect it. This idea, this whole narrative that's been built around us as a people. We should just not subscribe to it. Oh, here we go again. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. Probably can't answer the phone anymore. But when we look at everything now, these, this is the way we lived. We had civilization where we weren't taking we weren't taking anything from anybody else. We were actually building and living. But you have to think, in the Bible, where the people were trying to climb the Tower of Babel, and they were broken into, I know it's not us, but I think of it as sometimes it has to be the Europeans trying to get, to the sky. And the sky is not the way you get there. It's spiritual. You don't get there with Sky Daddy. you know. So they had a university, they had education. So this is what this society pretty much mirrors off of is the societies that we had back then, except for they take it and they turn it into a demented control DV situation. Because we see a lot of domestic violence perpetrated upon our men, perpetrated upon our women. And it's just been constant ever since day one, ever since we met them. So the 14th and the 18th centuries were their smaller political states emerged in the forests along the coast of Africa below the Songhai Empire. The uppermost groups of states were the Ganja and or Volta kingdoms, located around Volta River in the confluence of the Niger, or what was called the Windward Coast, now Sierra Leone and Liberia. Most of the people in the upper regions of the Windward Coast belong to a common language group called Gur by linguists. They are also held common religions. Well, sorry. Common language groups called Gur by linguists. They also held common religious. Okay. And they also hold common religious. Let me see something real quick. They also held they said they held common, let's say spiritual beliefs, because and common systems of land ownership. They lived in decentralized societies where political power resides in an association of men and women. Below the Volta lay the Ashanti Empire in the southeastern geographical area of the contemporary nation of Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, and modern Ghana. By the 15th century, the Akan people, who include the Balu, Bale, and Twi speaking Ashanti, reached dominance in central region. Akan culture had a highly evolved political system 100 years or more before the rise of democracy in North America, the Ashanti governed themselves through constitution and assembly commercially. The Ashanti dominated region straddled the African trade routes that called Ivory Coast and grain as a result. Europeans called various parts of the region the Ivory Coast, Gold Coast, and Green Coast. The transatlantic slave trade, the 17th and early 18th centuries, people from the regions were predominant among those enslaved in the British colonies of the North American mainland. So this is when the pretty much when the slavery started down here. So we was pretty much just looking at before slavery started, before slavery started, because we wanted to get a sense of how it wasn't a system of capitalism and how the people were before they were engulfed within slavery or were brought into to be taken as slaves. Because as we know, there was no such thing as slavery past the time and the days of the Europeans actually using it. And because they used it on not their own people, but they used it upon a people that were different from them because they saw those people as less than them or lower than them. But in all reality, they saw those people and as something bigger and better than themselves. Because no one's going to mess with something that's less than them. People are going to deal with something that's greater than them because they, out of jealousy or what have you, they're gonna, or even feeling like threatened by their way of life, uh, or threatened by what they have and you don't have. So they're gonna want to go and steal and kill for what they have, and put it under a system of control and call it capitalism and give them an upper hand over everything because it is privately owned by those who have put this whole thing in play already, and it's been passed down from family to generation and generation and generation on, thus leaving others affected in ways where nothing can ever they can never gain the ability to capitalize on capitalism. And if they do, it's a controlled mechanism. It's used as a control mechanism for those who put the system in place. So for you to have to go and still kill and pillage and rape and destroy a group of people and then take all that stuff and then put it into a capitalist system and capitalize off of it. Everything I see, every European country there is today is capitalizing. And they do it by capitalizing off of their the things that they need to survive off of from Africa, from the continent of Africa. And they still do this to this day. I don't care what group, even Russia, all of them, China, all these countries, they're using capitalism, a sense of control of resources. So, with that said, family, that's it. And I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do some reading tomorrow. We finish up the tuitionist and Matsa Musa. But let me see. Did I have another thing I wanted to share? Yeah, I wanted to share what is capitalism. I wanted to share what is capitalism before I got knocked out. Hold on, let's see this. Before we logged out, okay. Capitalism is an economic system that where private entities own the factors of production. The four factors are entrepreneurship, capital goods, natural resources, and labor. The owners of capital goods, national resources, and entrepreneurship exercise control through companies. Individuals own their labor. In theory, the system may sound simple, but its practice, it's much more complicated and can have both positive and negative effects. Here's how capitalism works and the advantages and disadvantages of economic system. Capitalistic ownership means owners control the factors of production and derive their income from their ownership. That gives them the ability to operate their companies efficiently. It also provides them with incentives to maximize their profit. In corporations, the shareholders are the owners. Their level of control depends on how many shares they own. Shareholders elect a board of directors and hire upper level executives to manage the company. Capitalism requires a free market economy in order to succeed. It distributes goods and services according to the laws of supply. So we're always have to wait on certain foods and stuff like that that we may need because it's in a control. It's in control. Instead of us being able to just go and get our food freely without having to pay the middleman. Law of demand says that we demand increases for a particular product, its prices rises. When competitors realize that they can make a higher profit, they increase production. So it's robbing, it's like keeping something from you and knowing that you need it desperately, but upping the prices on those things. The greater supply reduces prices to a level where only the best competitors remain. Capitalism emerged during the 16th century and accelerated during the Industrial Revolution. Propelled in colonialism, the nascent factory system, and the Atlantic slave trade, while the system generated wealth and prestige for owners, it often did so by exploiting those with little to no power, such as factory workers and people indigenous to Africa and the Americas. Capitalism's expansion in the 19th century, America relied on economic growth generated through the labor of enslaved people on land forcefully taken from Native Americans. Yes. Enslaved people and on land forcefully taken from Native Americans, killings. How capitalism works. The owner of supply compete against each other to earn the highest profits. They sell their goods at the highest possible price while keeping their costs as low as possible. Competition keeps prices moderate and production efficient, although it can also lead to worker exploitation and poor labor conditions, especially in countries without strict labor laws. So we're in a place here in America now where we don't even we don't even make our own things that we need. The only people in America that's making a living that is making their own furniture, which I would love to me myself. I love wood and I love to do I would love to build furniture, you know. But it takes money to be able to do those things. Well, it takes land. Let's say that first, because the Amish, they have land and they have the abilities. They have the abilities. I don't know if they get anything from the government. I don't know those things. I don't think so. From what we hear about the Amish people that we so admire is they live out there differently than the way we live. They're not in necessary. Well, I'll take that back because I know they do sell their furniture, so I think they still deal with the capitalism situation in ways because they, even though they built their own buildings, their own houses and stuff. I said that's the way you have to go if you don't want them to steal your soul. So have to be a little bit independent, but us living in the city, the way we live under the system is not really uh, allowing for us to be independent and get out of the system. Because, like I said, when I was talking about when a baby is born, uh, you got your social security number, which is to your credit attached, but yet you don't own none of those things. Someone else owns it privately. Your social security, your credit record, your credit information. So this is what we deal with in a capitalist society. Someone privately owns and privately is taking care of your credit record. So how do you know when you've been discriminated against or not? Especially when you're a Black family or Nubian family or a Bantu family, what have you, is out here trying to have a good income and you have good credit and you're out here trying to make a life build on capitalism. Many foreigners come over and thinking that they can become capitalists. They're not going to allow it. I don't know what they're thinking when they have all of us come together in this America's melting pot. And I don't know what the plan is, but I tell you what, it cannot be anything good. It cannot be anything good. It can only be destruction. So, with that said, family, always remember true love, real peace, and the higher self within you, your soul. Until next time, peace.